I remember that dinner like it was yesterday. I was 18, about to graduate high school, sitting around our kitchen table with my family. The smell of my mom's homemade spaghetti filled the air, and my dad had just opened a bottle of red wine. I felt this warm sense of excitement because I thought they were finally going to talk about my college fund, the one they had been saving for since the day I was born. But then I noticed something strange. My parents kept glancing at my older brother Grant, who was 26 at the time, sitting there with this confident smile on his face. My dad cleared his throat and started talking about how impressed he was with Grant's new business idea. That is when I felt it. Something was wrong. Before I continue with what happened next, let me know where you are watching from. Drop your state or country in the comments below. And if you have ever felt betrayed by the people who were supposed to have your back, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to this channel, because what I am about to tell you will show you exactly why family decisions can sometimes cut deeper than any stranger ever could. Let me take you back a bit. That college fund my parents had set up was not just some small savings account. It was my future, carefully built over 18 years. My dad worked as a mechanical engineer at an automotive manufacturing plant, and my mom was a nurse at the local hospital. They were not rich by any means, but they were disciplined. Every single month they put $200 into that account. I remember my mom turning down restaurant invitations from her friends because she said that money needed to go to my education. My dad drove the same beat-up Honda Accord for 15 years because buying a new car would have meant taking money away from my future. My mom used to tell me all the time, "Son, this money is going to get you into a good college so you can have a better life than your father and I had." I took that seriously. I studied hard, kept my grade point average above 3.8, joined the robotics club, and spent my weekends working on engineering projects instead of hanging out with friends. I had my heart set on the University of Michigan, where I wanted to study electrical engineering. Everything I did was pointed toward that goal. I even worked part-time at a pizza shop from the time I was 16, saving every penny I could to help with expenses my college fund might not cover. So when my parents called that family meeting, I walked into the dining room expecting to hear about application deadlines and campus visits. Instead, what I got was a completely different conversation. My dad started by saying Grant had come to him with an incredible business opportunity. Grant jumped in, explaining his idea for a tech startup. He wanted to create a platform that would connect small businesses with suppliers, kind of like Uber, but for logistics. He said he had done all the research, built a detailed business plan, and even had some potential clients lined up. The only thing he needed was startup capital. $75,000 to be exact. My stomach dropped. That was almost exactly what was sitting in my college fund. I looked at my dad, waiting for him to laugh it off, to say Grant would need to find investors somewhere else. But instead, my dad said something that made my blood run cold. "We have decided to loan Grant the money from Forrest's college fund." I just sat there, fork halfway to my mouth, unable to process what I had just heard. My mom jumped in quickly, like she could see the panic on my face. "Honey, this is not us giving the money away. It is an investment. When Grant's business takes off, you will get your college money back, plus you will share in the profits." Grant nodded enthusiastically. "Little brother, I promise you in 6 months I will have your money back, maybe even double." I finally found my voice. "What if it does not work out?" My dad frowned at me. "Do not think negative thoughts. Your brother needs our support right now." Grant added, "Look, you can start at community college, work part-time, and then transfer after 2 years. Plenty of people do that. It is not the end of the world." But it felt like the end of the world to me. I sat there staring at the cold pasta on my plate, feeling like I had just been slapped across the face. Everything I had worked for, every sacrifice I had made, every weekend I spent studying instead of going to parties, all of it suddenly felt worthless. And the worst part was that Grant had failed at 2 previous jobs. He got fired from a sales position for missing quotas, and he quit a marketing role after 6 months because he said it was not challenging enough. Yet here were my parents handing him my entire future on a silver platter. I tried one more time. "But you promised me this money. You have been telling me my whole life that this was for my education." My mom reached across the table and patted my hand. "Sometimes plans have to change, sweetheart. You are the younger brother. You need to understand what it means to support family." I pulled my hand away. I did not say anything else that night. I just excused myself and went up to my room where I lay on my bed staring at the ceiling watching my dreams of University of Michigan dissolve into nothing. That night changed something fundamental in me. I realized that no matter how much you trust people, no matter how much they say they love you when it comes down to it, you might just be second priority. And that realization hurt more than I can put into words. I decided to postpone college for a year. I picked up full-time hours at the pizza shop working 50 hours a week, determined to save enough money to at least start somewhere anywhere. But I could not stop watching what was happening with Grant's business. Every family dinner became an update session that made me feel sicker and sicker. The first month, Grant was full of energy. He rented a small office space in a business park, hired 2 employees, and bought expensive computer equipment. He showed us photos of his new workspace, talking about how professional it all looked. My parents beamed with pride. I just nodded and kept my mouth shut. By month 2, Grant said he had 5 clients testing his platform. He talked about growth projections and scaling up. My dad started telling his friends at work about his entrepreneur son. My mom bought a new outfit to wear to what she called Grant's eventual launch party. I asked Grant directly one night how the finances looked. He brushed me off, saying, "Business is complicated, little brother. You will understand when you are older." Month 3 was when the cracks started showing. Grant mentioned that some clients were complaining about glitches in the software. One of his employees had to work overtime to fix technical issues. He looked tired at Sunday dinner, but he kept insisting everything was under control. I wanted to ask about my money, but the words felt stuck in my throat. Month 4 brought the first real crisis. Grant had to let one of his employees go because he could not make payroll on time. He explained it away as restructuring for efficiency. But I could see the worry in my parents' eyes. My dad asked him point blank if the business was in trouble. Grant got defensive, saying that all startups go through rough patches, that this was completely normal. Month 5. Grant stopped coming to family dinners. He said he was too busy putting out fires at work. My mom would call him every other day, and I could hear the stress in her voice when she hung up. She started asking my dad if they should have kept some money in reserve. My dad said it was too late to second-guess the decision now. Then came month 6. I was working the evening shift at the pizza shop when Grant's truck pulled into the parking lot. He walked in looking like he had not slept in days. His eyes were red, his clothes wrinkled. He asked if we could talk. We sat in his truck and he told me everything was gone. The business had collapsed. All $75,000 gone. Spent on office rent equipment, payroll, software development, marketing that went nowhere. He said his competitors had been better funded and more experienced. He said the market was not ready for his product. He said a lot of things, but none of them changed the fact that my future had just evaporated. That evening we went to my parents' house together. Grant broke the news. My mom started crying immediately. My dad just sat there in his recliner, face pale, staring at nothing. I stood in the doorway feeling this strange numbness wash over me. 18 years of savings gone in 6 months because of one terrible decision. My mom looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "What are we going to do about your college?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something. But instead I heard myself say very calmly, "I will figure it out." Grant tried to apologize, but the words sounded hollow. My dad suggested I could take out student loans like millions of other kids. That was when I lost it. I was not supposed to need loans. I had the money. You took it and gave it to someone who already proved he could not hold down a regular job. The room went silent. My dad looked hurt. My mom cried harder. Grant stared at the floor. I walked out of that house knowing that something between us had broken that could never be fully repaired. I drove to the lake where I used to go fishing with my dad when I was a kid. I sat on the dock watching moonlight dance across the water and tried to figure out what came next. I thought about taking out $60,000 in student loans. I thought about community college. I thought about just working at the pizza shop forever. None of those options felt right. Then I remembered my friend Tyler. He had joined the Army right after high school, and last I heard he was doing really well. He had told me once that the military had given him structure purpose and paid for his education through something called the GI Bill. I pulled out my phone and started researching. The more I read, the more it made sense. The military would pay for my training, give me real-world experience, and when I finished my service, I would have full college tuition covered with money left over for housing and books. No debt, no depending on family, just me earning my own way forward. By the time the sun came up, I had made my decision. I was going to join the Army. Not because I had always dreamed of military service, but because it was the only path I could see that would let me take control of my own future. 2 weeks later, I walked into the Army recruitment office. The recruiter, Sergeant Davis, was a man in his late 40s with a solid build and sharp eyes that seemed to size me up the moment I sat down. He asked me why I wanted to join. I could have made up some patriotic speech, but I decided to be honest. I need a fresh start. I need a place where my success depends on my own effort, not on other people's promises. Sergeant Davis nodded slowly. The Army will give you that opportunity, but it will also demand everything you have got. You ready for that? I looked him straight in the eye. I am more ready than I have ever been. I signed a 4-year contract specializing in electronics and telecommunications. It was as close as I could get to the electrical engineering degree I had wanted, just through a different door. When I told my parents, my mom broke down crying. Not tears of pride, but tears of guilt and worry. She kept saying I did not have to do this, that they would find another way. But what other way was there? My dad tried to talk me out of it, warning me about the dangers of military service, about deployments and combat zones. I cut him off. At least the Army will not betray me. Grant did not say anything. He just stood there looking at the ground, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. 10 weeks later, I was at Fort Benning, Georgia, going through basic training. I am not going to lie, it was brutal. We woke up at 5 in the morning every single day. We ran 5 miles before breakfast. We did push-ups until our arms shook. We learned how to handle weapons, how to work as a unit, how to push past the point where your body wants to quit. There were nights I collapsed into my bunk so exhausted I could not even think. But you know what? That exhaustion was healing. Every drop of sweat that hit the Georgia dirt was washing away the anger and betrayal I had been carrying. I made friends there. Real friends. Marcus was from Detroit, raised by a single mom who worked 3 jobs. Ethan came from rural Oregon, where his family lost their farm to bankruptcy. We were all running from something, all trying to build something better. We understood each other in a way my family never could. After basic training, I went to my specialized electronics school. That is where everything started to click. I learned about communication systems, satellite technology, radar operations, encryption. This was not theory in a classroom. This was hands-on, real-world application of cutting-edge technology. My instructor, Chief Warrant Officer Thompson, pulled me aside after the 3rd week. You have got a natural talent for this specialist. If you apply yourself, you could go far in this field. I took that advice seriously. I studied every night after duty hours. I volunteered for extra projects. I earned additional certifications in network security and systems administration. While my old high school friends were partying their way through freshman year, I was building actual marketable skills. After 2 years, I got promoted to specialist, and my pay increased. I was saving money for the first time in my life, building my own security net that nobody could take away from me. Then I did something my family never expected. I started taking online college courses through Arizona State University using my GI Bill benefits. The Army paid for everything. Tuition books even gave me a monthly housing allowance. I was getting the education I always wanted on my own terms without owing anyone a single dollar. I took classes at night and on weekends, slowly working toward my degree in electrical engineering. 4 years went by faster than I expected. I completed my military service with an honorable discharge, a bachelor's degree, and not a penny of debt. My resume now showed 4 years of hands-on technical experience, leadership training, security clearances, and a college degree. I applied to tech companies in Seattle and got multiple offers. I accepted a position as a systems engineer at a major tech firm, starting salary $85,000 a year. I packed up my life and moved to Seattle. I found an apartment with a view of the water. I bought a reliable car. And for the first time since that terrible dinner when I was 18, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. 5 years passed. I worked hard, moved up to senior engineer, and now I was making $120,000 a year. I bought a condo overlooking Puget Sound. I drove a Tesla. I traveled when I wanted to. My life was comfortable, stable, and entirely my own creation. I stayed in touch with my parents, but our relationship had changed. We talked on holidays, exchanged pleasantries, but there was always this distance between us that none of us knew how to bridge. Then one Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. It was Grant. We had not spoken directly in almost 3 years. "Forrest, how are you doing?" His voice sounded strained. We made small talk for a minute before he got to the point. "Listen, I am in a bit of a financial bind right now. I was wondering if you could loan me $5,000. I will pay you back as soon as I get back on my feet." I let the silence hang there for a moment. Then I said, "No." He sounded genuinely shocked. "What do you mean, no? Come on, man, I know you're making good money out there. $5,000 is nothing to you." That made my jaw clench. You are right. I do make good money. Money that I earned through my own sweat and sacrifice. Money that nobody handed to me. Money that nobody took away from me to fund someone else's dream. Grant's voice got defensive. I said I was sorry about the college fund. I have apologized 100 times. What more do you want from me? I took a deep breath. I want you to understand that sorry does not erase what happened. Sorry does not give me back those 6 months of watching my future disappear. And sorry definitely does not mean I have to bail you out every time you make bad decisions. He tried to argue, but I cut him off. Grant, you are 41 years old. It is time you figured out how to stand on your own feet. The answer is no. I hung up before he could respond. 10 minutes later, my mom called. "Forrest, your brother told me you refused to help him. He has family. How can you be so cold?" I had been expecting this call. "Mom, you once taught me that people need to take responsibility for their own choices. Grant needs to learn that lesson. He is not learning it as long as people keep rescuing him." My mom got quiet, then said softly, "You are still angry about the college fund." I thought about that. "No, Mom. I am not angry anymore. I am grateful, actually. Losing that money taught me that I could not depend on anyone but myself. It made me stronger. But that does not mean I am going to enable Grant's pattern of failing and then asking for handouts." We talked for a while longer. I do not think she fully understood my position, but she stopped pushing. That night I sat on my balcony looking out at the city lights reflecting off the water, and I realized something important. I had stopped being a victim of what happened to me. Somewhere along the way, I had turned that betrayal into fuel. It had pushed me to become more independent, more resilient, more successful than I ever would have been if everything had gone according to plan. Looking back now, I can see the whole journey clearly. That dinner when I was 18 felt like the worst thing that could have happened to me. Having my college fund taken away, watching it disappear into a failed business, feeling betrayed by the people who were supposed to protect me, all of that pain was real and valid. But here is what I have learned. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you opens the door to the best thing that could have happened. If I had gone to University of Michigan on my parents' dime, I probably would have gotten a decent education. I would have graduated with a degree, maybe gotten a good job. But would I have the discipline I learned in the Army? Would I have the real-world technical skills I gained from 4 years of hands-on military work? Would I have the confidence that comes from knowing I built my life entirely on my own terms? I honestly do not think so. The military gave me more than free education. It gave me a backbone. It taught me that I did not need anyone's permission or support to succeed. It showed me that hard work and commitment will always pay off even when the people closest to you let you down. I learned to set boundaries, to say no without guilt, and to understand that real love sometimes means letting people face the consequences of their choices. I am not saying I do not love my family. I do. But I love them from a distance now, with clear boundaries that protect my peace. When my parents wonder why I will not loan money to Grant, I remind them that enabling someone is not the same as helping them. When Grant complains that I am being selfish, I remind him that taking care of yourself first is not selfish, it is necessary. The strangest part is that I am actually thankful for what happened. That betrayal became my breaking point, and breaking points are where transformation begins. I could have become bitter. I could have spent my life resenting my family and blaming them for every difficulty I faced. Instead, I chose to use that pain as motivation to build something better. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone in your family betray your trust? Maybe they took something from you or broke a promise that really mattered. Drop a comment below and tell me how you handled it. Did you cut them off completely, or did you find a way to forgive but still protect yourself? I really want to hear your stories. And if this story connected with you in any way, do me a favor. Hit that like button to help this video reach other people who might need to hear this message. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already, because I share more stories about overcoming family drama and building a life on your own terms. Share this with someone who needs to hear that it is okay to put yourself first sometimes. I want to thank you for listening to my story. I know it was not easy to hear, just like it was not easy to live through. But I hope it gives you permission to set your own boundaries, to pursue your own path, even when the people around you do not understand. Remember, you are not responsible for fixing other people's mistakes. You are only responsible for building your own future. Take care of yourself out there, and remember that sometimes the best revenge is simply living well.